Robert and Jacinta Cox are husband and wife founders of FFF, Faith, Fellowship, and Fun, Adult Christian Singles in Action. FFF was born from their common passion to see men and women not only relate to one another in a non romantic way, but to live a holy life for God. During their courtship, they studied the book Boundaries in Dating, and they realized there were a lot of jewels that could help others grow stronger spiritually. After praying, Boundaries in Dating book study was born. They are currently approaching year 3 of their marriage, and within the last 3 years, they have been able to organize a purity conference, have outreaches, fellowship events, and sponsor a third bid book study. They're currently small group coaches at Victory Church. They serve in their pre-married life ministry as group facilitators, and they have a happy blended family with 3 children: Jonah 17, Caitlin 22, and Andre 29. Robert and Jacinta, welcome. Thank you for coming on today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
When I thought about dating and the teen girls, who can I have to come in to talk? I immediately thought of you guys. Um, you've taught me so much personally, and I know I'm an adult woman, but I think some of the principles that you guys teach is definitely translatable to that of to a teen and to a mom who's trying to coach her daughter as she's entering the world of dating. So you two wonderful people are parents of 3 young adults, 2 who are still in the early stages where dating may be an issue. So um, you have 3 children in total.
Yes.
One in he's 29, your oldest son's 29, and then your daughter's 22 in Australia,
Yes.
where I'm so glad you've laid the foundation because she's far away and putting all those into practice. And then you have a teenage son who's in 11th grade.
Yes.
Yes.
How old is
17.
17. Okay. So you guys have a little practice. A little practice.
A lot of practice.
A lot of practice, yes. So you are the couple to speak to about this. So I just wanted to give you guys a little backstory to know why they are so appropriate to be our guests today. So I wanted to ask I'm asking you guys here about dating, but you guys believe in relating with a purpose. Can you guys walk us through that a little bit, like break that down? Because that's kind of a buzz term. Maybe everyone doesn't know what that means.
Well, relating with a purpose is basically when you're courting someone and you have a goal, and that end goal, that purpose is marriage. You're relating with one another to see if this union could end in marriage. But you're doing it in a way that you're honoring God and you're honoring each other through the process. So it's not just like you're going out on a date just to have fun. Your purpose is marriage.
And so that is so good because I think as Christian moms or even a mom in general, you want your daughter to know that she is going through something with the intention of having a greater purpose and not for someone to be treating her in a frivolous manner. So if she's going into this with knowing I'm doing this with a purpose, it would be she's less likely to entertain people who have that frivolous mindset, which I think
And that's a good point because of the fact is that most of the times people are dating, they say they're friends, they're courting, they become possessive of each other, and they don't have no purpose. So some people be in relationships for 10, 12, 15 years and never thought about marriage.
Wow.
So when you have something particular and you're putting that definition there, purpose, and what is that purpose? To become husband and wife. Now it makes more sense and it's more meaningful to the woman especially, and then the man can take notice of what he needs to do in order to fulfill that purpose.
Right. That's good. That's true. So you're setting that up so you're not setting her up to go down the path of a 5-year dating relationship with no title, expectation, direction.
Right.
I've seen and known that and may have been in one myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. That's good. We're setting some girls up for success. So let me ask you, like, are there any good things about dating? What are some things that are good?
Of course, there are a lot of good things about dating. First, you get to know who you are when you're dating. because it brings out of you the things that you might have from your past. You get to know the person better, and then you get to know if this person is going to be with you. Now, the most important thing during that time, and we say getting to know each other, will be becoming friends. So you're growing in friendship, and in that friendship, you're learning more about him. You're getting to see who he's in his life, his family, his friends. Does he work? Does she work? Does she have attitude? Does he have attitude? What kind of person are they? So a lot of time now, the most important aspect of this, don't sweep stuff under the rug. If they got a bad attitude, they need to be addressed. If they are selfish, they need to be addressed. These things that are negative, that need to be addressed so that they can become good.
So as a teen, am I wonder if as a teen are you really paying attention to those things? 'Cause I think when you're a teenager, life is all about having fun. So I think one of the things that maybe dating will allow for a teenager to do is to explore those things of what do I like, what is this person complimenting something that I like. And the great thing I think about dating as a teen, when your parents are there, your mom knows you. You know, she's been there for your whole life, so she can kind of see if you're losing your personality now that you're dating this person. So when you were saying you get to learn about yourself and what you like and the things that are important to you, I think it's great. One of the great things about dating as a teen while you're with your parents is you have that extra buffer, someone to say, I don't know that that person is bringing out the best in you, or you don't really seem like yourself, or things like that. Jacinta, can you tell us anything about, as a mom, that would be beneficial for moms to be on the lookout for as their daughter is dating, where it comes to concern with that, when he was saying some of those good things about what you're learning about what you like and what you like to do and what you won't accept, anything that moms can be on the lookout for their daughter as they're in that exploration dating portion?
Well, the first thing that you said is very important is as they're dating with their parent, with their mother. That's important because society has gotten away from that, and the parents have to be involved in that process. But some of the things would be, well, you've mentioned it, you know, a change in their attitude. One of the things that I looked for when my daughter was dating or called herself trying to date at one point was setting boundaries, which I know we'll talk about that later, but that's very important to have established boundaries with your child. And then watching and making sure that they maintain themselves within those boundaries. Because as a parent, we know what's best for our child, really. We really do, because we know them better than they know themselves, you know. And so we can see things that maybe they can't see. And so if the trust has been built there between the parent and the child, you have that authority to speak into their lives. First of all, you have the authority because you're their parent,
Right.
and so you can speak into their lives, and you can show them things that you've noticed or that you see that is not in line with whatever you believe or what you feel is best for the child.
So it sounds like there is some preparation that's already coming up before your child starts dating. Is you're setting that foundation of that relationship and that communication, right? Is what it sounds like you're saying.
Yes.
So dating is one thing, but there's some work. If your daughter has not started dating, these are some things that you want to think about. Like, am I setting that up? Do we have clear boundaries in our family? Does she know what's expected of her? Can you tell us, can you define what boundary is, what that means, what are boundaries?
Well, boundaries is basically just like a property line. It's like if you think about, you buy a house, that house is on land, and so there's a line a border line that says this is my property and this is my neighbor's property. So my neighbor can't just come into my backyard and plant a garden. Like, that's a violation of my property, you know, of my rights. And so you have to keep that in mind. And so what boundaries do two things. They define us and they protect us. They define who we are, our values, what we believe in, what we like, what we don't like, what we'll accept, what's acceptable, what's unacceptable. And it can be all types of things. Wow. But that's how it defines our values, who we are. and then it also protects us. It keeps the good things in and the bad things out. And Robert has a good analogy example that I want him to share about that.
Monkey see, monkey do, monkey look, just like you. Most parents be the example to their children. And what they do is because they see them doing certain things. They say, don't smoke cigarettes, don't get bad for you. But the kids standing right there seeing you smoking.
Right.
Alcohol ain't good for you, but they seeing them drinking. Having sex at an early age, but she's seeing men and women, or he's seeing men and women. Mostly she's seeing men coming in her mother's house, going into the room, closing the door.
Wow.
So what y'all doing there? What, you know, are y'all talking? Y'all wrestling? Are y'all listening to music?
Right.
Or y'all doing other stuff?
Right.
But
That's
the
good.
children, the child is seeing this. So monkey see, monkey do, monkey look, just like you.
Wow. So once again, there's work that's being done
Yeah.
prior to the daughter coming into a dating relationship. So I think that is so key for moms to be reminded that we are preparing our daughter for dating way before she
Yes.
begins
Right.
to date.
Yes.
We are setting those parameters and those expectations. So
Can I share an experience right quick?
Oh, sure.
What happened with me and Jacinta? Me and Jacinta, first of all, when we met, we wasn't even thinking about being in a relationship. I like you, you like me, and none of that stuff. We met for a purpose, and that purpose was singles. And so when we started preparing, I think it was the second call, and she said that I want to tell you something that's very important. And she said, well, after 10 o'clock, we won't call each other. And after 10:30, we won't text. So I didn't say, well, I can't text you after 10:30, why I can't call you after 10, you know? So I said, okay, no problem, you know? Being the man that I am, knowing that she has a teenage daughter for number one, and if she's on the phone at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, then her daughter's going to witness that. And then she's going to feel that she has the right to do it too because my mommy's doing it, you know? So it wasn't until a couple of weeks later that we said, can I ask you a question? I want to ask you about boundaries and why you said you didn't say anything or protect it. I said it was self-explanatory. So that's another thing. If the man that you're dating in your life, it doesn't welcome your boundaries, then you need to rethink that relationship.
that's so good.
And with that specific situation, it was twofold. It was for my daughter because I'm being an example for her, but it was also for me because when a boundary is, again, it established, it defines you. And so that particular boundary was something that I knew that in the past I had not had. And so prior to meeting Robert, even though we weren't even dating, it was, okay, this is a man that's in my life that we're going to be on the phone. I need to let him know if we're in a conversation after 10, it's over. We can text the final conversation up until 10:30. And that was for my benefit because it defined who I was and my values, but then it was also to be an example
That was
for my
so
daughter.
good, just into what you were saying as far as the twofold. And I was curious because your daughter is very, very smart. Did she ever communicate to you that she noticed some of your behavior? And have you ever gotten feedback from her?
Well, actually, we had to put that in practice because my daughter actually, I think she was 16-ish. She met a young man at church, and they were just friends. And they were talking, and unbeknownst to me, there was conversations going on past certain times. And so when I found it out, I confronted. We talked about it. I won't say confronted, but I sat her down and I talked to her, and even though at that time she was like, well, it's nothing wrong with it, and I explained to her why it is something wrong with it, because we have to change that thought. And so once I did that, and I talked to her not saying you need to do this and you need to do that, I talked to her about valuing herself and how I value me and I value her and how God values us. And so I brought that into the conversation instead of just telling her what she should or shouldn't be doing. I took it to allowing her to see why you do this, how you doing this, it doesn't line up with who you are, if that makes sense. And so once we had that conversation, she understood, and it never happened. And to this day, she's set those boundaries. She has those boundaries in her life.
That is amazing. Wow, at 16, she's like, Mom, it's not a big deal. It's
Yes.
just a text. And you're like, no, it is a big deal, and let me tell you why. And not only let me tell you why, but this is what I do. And so you have that in your corner. Because if you had been texting and talking with Robert to 11:30 at night, you could have still said it because I'm your mom and you do what I say. But it carried so much more weight because you were actually walking out.
Exactly.
So then, yet again, I keep going back to we are setting that example and we are preparing our daughters for dating prior to date.
And what about the
Beginning to
purity
date.
pledge also?
Yeah, she ended up making a pledge for purity to save herself till she got married, and that was something that she decided at the age of 17.
She decided
Yes,
that.
she made that decision, and then we actually had a ceremony, a small little gathering, and everything, and I gave her a purity ring, and to this day she's walking it out at 22.
So some of the challenges facing young people today wanting to date are they're deep. There's sexual promiscuity, binge drinking, date violence, date rape. There are a lot of things impacting our kids as they date today. You have sexting, things like that. I think that establishing those boundaries early would help kind of shield them from this. How could a mom help her daughter establish these types of boundaries? Either one of you.
Well, in our society today, that our parents are not our only influence.
Mm-hmm.
The mother is not the only influence in her daughter's life. We have peer pressure.
Mm-hmm.
We have the media, social media especially, that draws the child away. A lot of the so-called friendships that they have, the people that's in their life, this adds to these already prevalent topics that we have. When you get into that, all these things become a part of it: drinking and sexing and doing other things, date rape, which is so very prevalent. But the devastation of the impact of these things are generational to sometimes to a degree. That if it's not arrested during the times and given a different avenue to go, then the child may be lost forever. So it is very, very important for the mother to understand the role that she plays in her child's life. And has to be.
Yeah, and just going back to what we've already been saying too, it starts before the child gets to the date.
Everything is pointing back to it
before they
starting
even get to
before.
an age where they're ready to date. But let's say you have a daughter who is 14, 15, 16, and she's, feeling like, all of my friends are doing this. Some things that need to happen is there are 4 basic needs that we have as humans, and that one is acceptance, knowing that we are loved and that we're wanted. One is our identity, who we are and why were we created. The other one is security, knowing that we belong and that we'll be protected. And then finally, our purpose. Why am I here? And so these are 4 basic needs that a lot of times, if they're not even understood what they are, when a child goes out, they're going to be looking for those things from other people, that's what allows even and we're talking about young girls. That's what really allows them. It opens up a door for them to allow someone to come in that seems to be that wants to meet those needs. And so if she doesn't know that before even going out, she's going to be open to something dangerous and maybe some unhealthy or toxic relationship or people.
Wow, that was so good, Jacinta. That was really good. So we need to be addressing those 4 basic needs in a healthy and consistent way at home with our daughter. And I know the rigors of parenting, and there's so much to do in a day, and you really want to make sure she's clothed, she's safe, she's healthy. Those are the things you're just trying to get through Tuesday. But I would like for the moms to take the time to really make sure that you're addressing those 4 things. Because if we're not addressing them, like you just said, we open her up to those things, the sexual promiscuity, the binge drinking, the date violence, the date rape, all of those things are usually able to come in when those four needs are met. And when you have those met, then you're in a better position to create those boundaries, right?
Yes.
That's right.
Then the boundaries can take hold because the foundation is there. So
Yes.
that was, wow, that was so key. And then also when what Robert said, you said that there's some things that are generational. So it's so key for you too, Mom, to really take a look at some of the things that may have impacted you in your bad decision making and examine that and get some sense of healing or some able to move past that so that you are not taking that unhealthy behavior that you experience and then allowing your daughter to walk into the next generation of that. So that you guys have touched on some key things. I'm so glad we invited you guys here today. This is just amazing. So you guys teach a book study with boundaries in dating, which is how we met. And in the book, I did do some research on that. It talks about, because we want the moms to have some practical tools after this video, they have something to go back to. In the book, it talks about there are it says two struggles experienced in dating relationships caused by two things, freedom and responsibility. Can you define each of those for us? Freedom and responsibility.
Okay, so this is the book, Boundaries in Dating. We highly recommend this book. It is like phenomenal. And so there is a part in the chapter here that talks about that. And I'll get to it and we can just read it straight from the book because these are their words. So by freedom, we mean your ability to make choices based on your values rather than choosing out of fear or guilt. So a lot of times we do tend to do that. We make decisions out of hurt and pain, fear, guilt, instead of our values. And that's the freedom.
And by responsibilities, we mean your ability to execute your task and keeping the relationship healthy and loving as well as being able to say no to things you shouldn't be responsible for. A lot of times, and that's what I meant earlier, that don't sweep stuff under the rug. You have to deal with those things that are affecting you as a person because it's interfering with your moral and value system. And you know that that's not how your parents raised you. So you allow yourself to succumb to it without saying no because you feel the emptiness, you feel a loneliness, you feel not needed, you feel unloved.
Those four basic needs.
Yes, are not being met.
Exactly.
You're a smart lady. I like you. and the reality of it is that so these are how we begin to see so many underage women become pregnant because they looking for something because it's not their needs are not being met.
So this is so good. I feel like we could do like a 2-hour special. This is so good. So you guys are hitting on some great things. And so one of the questions I was going to ask is, how does a parent know if their child is mature enough to begin dating? And I think you guys have unpacked it in a beautiful manner. So it's not so much, okay, when you're 16, you're now able to date. But we kind of put the responsibility back on you, Mom. Like, have I met those four basic needs? Are they clearly being met? Is she aware that they exist? Have we put boundaries in place? Is she clear on our family's values? Have I been showing her, as my example, been showing her what it is to be respecting yourself and presenting yourself in a way and knowing your identity? If those groundwork things have not been laid, then maybe, I don't care if she is 17, maybe she's not ready because we haven't done the work yet. And then that's good because now you can do the work, right? You can do it. So I was going to say, well, how do you know when she's mature enough to date? And I think it's all of those things being in place because that's what allowed those boundaries to be seen, because you can almost not even see there are any boundaries because there's no plot of land, there's no foundation to put a boundary up against. Almost. What were we going to say?
A good scenario about this is if we flip it and look at driving. First of all, we ask ourselves, would we allow our 10-year-old to drive our car?
Absolutely not.
No. Who would? Who would allow a 10-year-old to, hey, here are the keys?
Sister.
You know? However, society, the culture says, the law says, when a child is 16, they can go get their driver's license and they can drive. However, or yeah, depending on the state, it's different laws. But the parent has the final authority to say, no, my child is not ready to drive. And we can talk about that because our son is 17. He does not have his driver's license. Why? Because we don't feel he has the maturity level to be able to get behind a wheel where he may be, he's not just responsible for his life, but he's responsible for other people's lives. So as parents, we've made the decision that no, yes, you're 16. Yes, they say you can get your permit, but we don't feel that you're ready for this. So when we believe that you're mature enough to take on the weight of what it means to get behind a wheel and drive a vehicle, then we will allow you to do that. Because as parents, we have the authority to tell our children that. So we put that back in the dating realm. We have the authority as parents to say when our child is ready and when they're not.
That is so good. So let's just say that I have been a A+++ mom. Not that you're not all trying your best, but I do feel that my child is ready. I do feel like she's mature. We have those values in place, that those 4 core needs are being met. She's making great decisions in all areas of her life. So now, what are some practical approaches? Do I only let her go on group dates? Do I let her go one-on-one? Robert, what are your suggestions for that daughter that I think she is mature enough to start dating?
Well, personally speaking, that when you look at the average mindset of 17, 18-year-old, they're not mature enough to even start dating, individually. Group dating, yes.
You recommend group dating, okay.
Yes. And the reason why is because you get to know the child that your daughter's going to want to know. You're going to get to know that young man. You're going to see what type of person he is. Then it'll help you make better choices and decisions also concerning her future. Being in around other people, they get the chance to see and they help pour into both of them. Because Jonah better not talk about bringing no girl to my house, talk about this is his girlfriend. You can be her friend, and she can come over and y'all can stay out here, or we can go do things. Like, so when they have outings, you invite them, So that way you're getting to know who they are. But I'm not going to say, okay, yeah, you old enough because you're 17, you can go out and get a boyfriend. I don't think so, or we don't play that.
So you're encouraging families to invite the potential dating interest, the boy, into something the family's already doing.
Yes.
Let's go as a group, and then they can start with a group outing that way.
Yes, a fusion, invite them to a fusion. If they have a youth ministry at church, because people get to know who they are, because these are people in your life.
Right. So okay, so now I'm here, I'm in this group setting. What do I, as the mom, what am I looking for? And what do I tell my daughter? What should she be on that lookout for?
How he interacts with other people. Is he a loner? Is he joyous? Does he have a personality? You have to be observant to see that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, we had Jonah, and I'm using personal experiences. Jonah met a young lady. Yeah, he's my son. My awesome, amazing son.
Yes, he is. He really is.
He was invited to go to one of the members' daughter's birthday party, and they got to know who Jonah was from church, and so they invited him over. And when he went, they had a nice time, and they was welcoming, So when Jonah had his time, then we can invite her to come over to his outing. So now you're interacting with the child. Both parents are interacting with the child. Even though there's a lot of single family parenting that's going on. And no shout out to the men. Kick them. I didn't mean to say that, but it's the truth. Some sense into them. That they need to begin to step up to the plate about raising their boys, because they are going to be the ones that go into that young lady's life.
Good. So you guys are supporters of the group dating
Yes.
Experience for teens. That's I think that's a great idea because kids do things in groups anyway. But also, I think it's key because one of the great things about technology is that we do have access to so much information. But one of the drawbacks is that it can be isolating, and kids will only relate via their phones or have text relationships. So it's encouraging your child to be able to interact with other teens or with the opposite sex in a in-person safe environment. So I like that, and keeps them from just being behind their phone. And speaking of phones, do you think that it's a good idea for parents to monitor text while they know that their child is interested in dating someone?
Yes.
Yep, that was a clear yes.
Yes, because and you know what? Do it from time to time.
Okay.
Because as a parent, you have the authority. First of all, it's your house.
Mm-hmm.
You're paying the phone bill.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably giving them money for things. They may work. They may be paying their own phone bill, but they live in your house.
Mm-hmm.
So even if they are paying their own phone bill, they still live in the house. So there's boundaries and rules that the parent has set.
Okay.
And so you can go, just like you can walk into their room and say, yes, you want to give them some privacy, but that doesn't mean that I can't come in here.
That's right.
Because this is part of my home.
Right.
So that doesn't mean that I can't say, oh, let me see your phone for a second. Well, what do you want? Let me see your phone. And you'll be amazed when you do it every so often. They'll get used to it, but eventually it's like they don't know what's going on. But you'll be able to say, hey, I'm in your life. I care about what's going on with you. And I'm going to protect you. Even if you don't like it, I'm still going to protect you. Now, there is a boundary for privacy, but for us, we believe a child, really, when it comes to things of that nature, there's no such thing as privacy. Not from a parent and a child.
No, I don't.
No,
I don't
there's
think so
no
either.
no such thing as that.
And me, I don't even play, period, with Jonah. Because it's so easy, and I think that it is very important if you have it at some point. Pornography is a very dangerous tool for males and females.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that does, it creates some demonic presence in the child's mind. And unbeknown to the mother or the father, unless they're monitoring, because I called him a couple of times and shut it down. Shut it down. Took his phone. When we feel he doing too much, like we'll have a restriction on the time frame that he can use the phone. So because you ain't old enough for number one. You're responsible enough for number two, and number three is it's a mockery to us as parents, and it's a mockery to her as a mother for her daughter to get away with things that she shouldn't be doing when you're doing all that you can to provide and do the things that is necessary for her. So she has to be held accountable and responsible for the things that they do.
So one of the boundaries that you can place for your family is that you as a parent are engaging in monitoring those texts and the phone activities. You did touch on something too. The access to pornography, which also impacts what their thoughts are when they're dating. So I think that is key. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that just about wraps up our questions. Do you guys have some tools and resources? I know we talked about the boundaries in dating books, but what other tools can moms use to have their hands on after this video series is over? Where can they go to get some more help?
Okay, this is one of the most amazing books that ever came on the market. Is called The Wait by Megan Good and Devon Franklin. So amazing to be able to know that they waited during their whole courtship, and as well as me and Jacinta waited during our courtship. For the whole time that we dated, we never kissed, we never rubbed bodies, we never been to the bedroom. We never got possessive with each other. Why you ain't called? Why you answer the phone when I called? So all these kind of things. And so when you establish boundaries, then you're willing to wait. Another one, this is so good. So Sam Chan, change your culture, change everything. It's so power packed. It's not only is it good for leaders, but it's also good for parents, because what it does is a lot of times we have a culture that's already set up in our home. You know, that this is the way that it should be, this is the way that it is. But then someone else comes in and they change our whole culture. But instead of you establish, so what does culture need? The culture needs to be a biblical based culture that's based upon the reality of God and what He says, because He had boundaries for us.
Yes,
In the
He
beginning,
does.
do not eat of this tree in the middle of the garden, because if you do, you're gonna die. You know, so that was a boundary that He established for us. So when we acknowledge the fact of that, and then if you have the desire to one day be married, this is preparing your heart for marriage, and it's a devotional, you know, for women as well as men, and anyone, especially to share with your daughters, you know, because as you begin to date, again, you want to say, I'm going somewhere purposely. I'm going to be doing it God's way. I want to do it the right way. So at the end of the day, when you lay down at night, your mind won't be spinning about all kind of crazy things.
And also going back to those 4 basic needs, you know, when we're preparing our heart for marriage, we're wondering, we have to make sure those needs are being met, and not necessarily by a person, but that ultimately God is fulfilling all of those needs. Because whether you're with someone, you're courting, you're relating with a purpose, or even married, that person still isn't the one that meets all of your needs. God is.
Good.
And so your heart, we have to do heart work before we get married.
And it's a hot matter. And my final suggestion to the mothers is that when you're preparing your daughter as well as yourself for your future life, ask yourself the question, what good is it that's in me? What good is it that I can give to others? And the only good that we should know is the good of God, the goodness that He has, you know. Because He tells us in His Word is that seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness. Don't mean that you have to be perfect, you have to be a particular way, but seeking, meaning getting to know, applying yourself, gasping, grabbing, holding on to, seeking.
Active, ongoing.
You know what I'm saying?
Right, not just one and
yes,
done.
You know, and all things will be added unto you. And that's a true statement. And all God's promises in His Word is true. So you can rest assured that if He says it, He will perform it.
That's good. And you guys said marriage, and I know some people maybe think, well, my daughter's only 16, she's not getting ready to get married. Well, no, she's not getting ready to get married today, but you want her mindset to be that of, whenever I am interacting with a male in a romantic type of way, it's always through the vein of marriage, which is the only reason why God created men and women to relate in that manner. So every decision, how He treats you on the first date, if you don't want your husband to treat you that way, that's probably a good indicator.
Exactly.
He's not the one,
Exactly.
right? I don't care how, nothing is too frivolous. And I just want to thank you guys so much for coming on today. This has been great. We will list all of those resources and on the description box for the video. Well, thank you so much for coming. This has been great.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
We enjoyed it.
Did you enjoy that episode? Well, it's not over yet. We want to keep this discussion going. Hop over to the Cherished Daughters Revolution Facebook group and leave a comment now. If this content is engaging, helpful, and empowering, please subscribe and share with your friends. Let's be real, parenting teens can be hard, but you are who God chose to guide her to adulthood. Keep going, Mom. You have everything she needs. God's equipped you for this, and we're here to help supplement. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next episode.